What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you are doing well. So crypto has fundamentally changed for me, and I know some of you have been requesting what a bear market hit list or a bear market coins that I recommend would be to buy. And rather than just putting a tier list and slapping some coins on a particular order, I would actually go a little bit more in depth and try and educate you on exactly what's going on. So I've developed my own intelligence board, a DXB market intelligence board that purely focuses on chain fees, protocol revenues, emissions, buyback and burns, mechanisms, and things of that nature. Now, of course, I pull that data from, reliable sources like Token Terminal, DeFi Llama, of course, Masari data. So I use tons of APIs, pay money to access the data. And what the data reveals is fundamentally going to change the way I look at cryptocurrency, of course, and classify these assets. So my classifications is buybacks and burns, huge utility, a potential, unproven, and highly speculative. And these are also the narratives. I've also got a narratives tracker in the Discord. If you're in the DXB Discord, all you have to do is go towards the you will see a buyback and burns channel. We track all of that for a reason. But today's video, and big up to the brother who was asking for me what I'm thinking right now in the market overall. I know I've done videos on the likes of Sui, Casper, Tau, but what is it collectively? Where's my headspace? So hopefully in this video, I'm going to try and educate one person at the very least to go and look at the data and try and be comfortable with what they invest in after they do their own research. So ultimately, why am I doing this? Well, crypto produces two particular outcomes: sell pressure and buy pressure. These don't actually happen randomly. In this case of Solana, you're looking at a data here. Solana is a very good example of a big, massive chain to look at and understand what the drivers are. So Solana is mostly driven, as you know, by meme coins. So at the height of the market, Solana was pulling in around 30 billion in DEX volume. DEX volume is quite key because 30 billion in a 24-hour period indicates, if you look over here, what is your, what's your protocol earning? What is their buybacks and burns? What's their chain fees? The information is available. Unfortunately, it's very difficult because not everybody is able to pull in APIs, use AI to actually analyze that data and come to a crunching point. But if you ask me a simple question, is Solana a good token to buy right now? Look at certain metrics, right? DEX volume over the last 24 hours, right, is 1.2 billion. Okay, you can see here their TVL has also come down, quite significantly. The token itself, the TVL, the chain fees, everything is pretty much down while the price remains at $82, as you can see right there. So is Solana a good buy? Well, Solana chart says it's around 70% from its all-time high. All coins normally bottom between 80 to 90%. So you could argue there's a little bit more to go, but by all metrics, I understand Solana is pretty much heading towards that bottoming kind of in terms of their overall metrics. So 30 billion was the height in DEX volume. Now it's just 1 billion. Well, that tells me there's not a lot of activity going on right now. Even though Solana is one of the best in terms of generating these fees, it is significantly down from its all-time high, TVL, etc., etc. So there is method to the madness. There's a way you could obviously, like I said, I have actually created a tracker within the group that allows you to look at strong fundamentals and then give a ranking. I mean, Hyperliquid has been flashing this quite significantly, and it gives you a score between, holder accrual, gross revenue, emissions, annual fees, those type of things. Okay, so let's jump into the fun part. For anyone who's asking the question as to why you need to do this, the answer is pretty much here. So, for example, Uniswap proposes a buyback and burn mechanism. You should pay attention to that. It just makes the token economics, and with less inflation, of course, supply and demand dynamics are at play. So this idea of buy pressure buy side pressure and sell side pressure doesn't just happen randomly. Of course, it happens if the protocol is willing to do that. One coin that I've been bullish on, and in the last few months I've done a lot of research on, is, for example, Ondo Finance. Now, you will find a lot of RWA tokens spoofing their TVL, but I've always been critical in the sense that what is the actual use of the coin? Last year they did $68 million in chain fees and revenue. Ondo Finance, not a single dollar came back into the token as either buyback or burn or to create any kind of demand for the token itself. So we need to be able to replace projects like that. Of course, if the hype comes, the hype comes. But over here, what you're looking at is the holder revenue, right? So what you have is, look at Canton here. Holders revenue in 24 hours, $1.9 million. Hyperliquid, Tron, Pump.fun, right? Pump.fun, again, it's up there. Rain or Kai Network has just fees ongoing, buybacks and burns. This is all quite critical. Again, it is not information that is hidden from people. It's very difficult without the modern day use of AI to be able to actually track metrics like this. Okay. So without further ado, now we'll move to the fun part so I can actually show you exactly what I mean. So first one that comes here is Near Protocol. Near Protocol has huge utility, right? Let's be fair. For those of you who weren't buying the bottom, I mean, I trade Near Protocol quite consistently, and Near Protocol has the potential to do really, really well. It has utility, it has Zcash. We're not going to go into it, but I think if you're specifically looking at AI narrative with utility, I think that's a good shout. Now, this has the potential to have buybacks. This is Aster Dex. Now, with the success of course, with the success of Hyperliquid, I wouldn't be surprised if Binance do crazy stuff. They control most of the token economics there. So Aster could be one that you just need to put into your watch list. Tokenomics wise, it's not as good as say some of the others. However, $1.8 billion market cap. It has actually moved quite, I would say, sideways. Of course, supply dynamics here, circulating supply versus outstanding supply, and the TVL is sub $1 billion right now. So fully diluted, it is absolutely huge, but I do believe if BNB runs, then it has the potential to be rigged. So you've got to look at at that element. Buyback, strong buybacks and burn fees is Syrup. Syrup has always last year they bought, I think, a significant part of their token. Now, Maple Finance is one of the few what I would consider small market cap RWA tokens with a significant TVL versus market cap. Okay, and they do have buybacks and burns. Now, Monero, of course, Monero is a huge utility. It's a big coin. We know what Monero is. It's a privacy coin. Linear, at the moment, is completely unproven. Okay, Plume has the potential. I've seen Plume. People speak about Plume in terms of what it's doing right now, and I think it has a potential to do something here. But again, potential is not the same as a real utility. $72 million market cap, $22 million in terms of the 24-hour trading volume. And again, I think this one is worth watching, especially within the US tokenized stocks narrative. I think that could be something to keep an eye out on. And again, Plume Network for me is one that I just have on my watch list. Neither bullish nor bearish, but if they do start to ramp up some news, I would be able to get a particular interest into it. And again, it is one that has potential. Okay. Next one is microcap like Neural AI, speculative. Monad has potential, in my opinion. And again, this one is, it should really have buybacks, but I would put it as Epic Chain as unproven. Pump.fun, kings of the buybacks and burns, no doubt about it. You have, You have the likes of AO right now. This is, sorry, where's AO? Let's go put AO here. AO is unproven, highly speculative play from Arweave. So we're going to put AO there. Then we have this bad boy here. Now, for me, this is again, privacy, utility, and of course, huge utility we know Zcash has. Then we go to Horizon. Horizon is unproven. Beam goes into speculative because we are waiting for the gaming season really to really kick off. Then we have Bankrcoin. Now, Bankrcoin for me is going to be the leader or one of the leading tokens in the agentic finance. And I think it really almost certainly goes up there with the likes of Virtual's protocol in leading that utility because it is really doing a lot in terms of, really producing massive amounts of volume. For example, $300 million 2 weeks ago on Uniswap alone. So Bankrcoin and Virtual's protocol, they fit into that, okay? These guys are speculative. Aether, forget utility. I mean, they came in with the GPUs and everything else. I have not seen, in all honesty, looking at all the chain fees, all the metrics, I have not seen a single GPU that they rent out and make it a kind of like a profitable revenue that is traceable. Yes, they do claim to have massive revenue, but it's not really traceable. Okay. Avantis has potential. Okay. Avantis has a potential in base. I remember talking to Jimmy about this, one of my brothers in the Discord, and he said, look, I use it to trade. It has also utility, but at the moment, his comment was, it's quite expensive to actually use Avantis to trade. Injective is a dark horse, in my opinion. It's running around at $5. Injective could have the potential to be able to generate some decent fees. Protocol revenue was 9 million. Annual fees 18 million. So it's not really the worst token out there, and it obviously has a fixed fundamental 60% fee burn on the auction and plus buybacks. So Injective is an interesting one to obviously to keep a close eye out on. So annualized fees growing post multi VM EVM main launch that launched in 2025. Helix DEX derivatives, RWAs, of course, and 60% of all exchange fees, weekly burns. The only thing is, I wasn't able to actually get the data to specifically confirm that, but they have the potential, and at the moment they do have buybacks and burns. Okay, Casper is a huge utility. It sits aside of the discussion when it comes to the burn mechanism. What I would say with Casper is the emissions. Okay, so with things like Casper, you've got to look at the emissions, and the emissions are solid right now, and it should go into a deflationary territory, right? At the moment, for example, it scores 40 here. Annual fees, $8 million, protocol fees, and what you have is the Casper layer 1 smart contracts, and of course the upgrade should be able to speed that up. Okay, 9.5% current inflation declining monthly. And by July 2026, 95% of the 78 billion max minted will be out in circulation. Very, very good. Of course, as the DeFi matures, you should be able to also get a massive, you start to look at other utilities, chain fees and things like that. Okay. AVAX has utility, but at the moment, AVAX is just trotting along. I have not seen any significant concrete AVAX buybacks. Morpho has potential. Edel Finance has potential. Let's go with Geodnet. Geodnet ranks in one of the top protocols in terms of fees. Okay, so if you look over here, hold the revenue, Geodnet is producing. And again, not many people know about Geodnet because again, it's not a token that is visible to people. Tau has massive utility. We know all about Tau. Arweave has massive utility. Again, DePIN is probably key. However, Arweave does score very low in terms of revenue because I think their fees are just way too cheap. Arweave's 24-hour revenues are negligible, in my opinion. And that is always been a problem with the way they priced the Arweave token. However, tokenomics is excellent, in my opinion. It's, tokens are all out there. And this is the only problem I have. 0.8% annual inflation is gone, right? But the only problem I have is they just don't make enough money, unfortunately. So is it going to be speculative? Well, you never know. But they do have utility. However, they are not going to utilize that utility anytime soon because we know at the moment it's just not big enough. They've got to create something for AO for that to happen. Toshi has utility. Toshi just partnered with Humans AI. Toshi is going to be an AI agent, and it does have potential, of course. You could also go with speculative, so people don't shout about it. And the next one is, in fact, this one had a lot of token buybacks and burns. Unfortunately, the recent exploit of one of the Solana protocols has literally killed off LayerZero, which was absolutely huge. So I would say if LayerZero can recover, it does still have bridge and utility, but I do believe that it has lost some shine. I would probably give it a potential right now. Say is completely unproven. Metrics that I have for Say are not encouraging. However, I won't be surprised if they came out and they announced something pretty major, okay? Because at the moment, Say Finance doesn't really score that well on any of these chain activities, chain fees, any of the metrics that I track here. Say is nowhere to be seen, and I understand why. It is a layer one in limbo right now. It's unproven, borderline speculative, but I'll keep it as unproven. Chainlink is the king of utility. There's no doubt about it. Canton, I think Canton is going to be making massive strides. They do have buybacks and burns. In fact, the token utility is largely dependent on the fees that they generate for their holders. I mean, look at this. It's ranked as #1 in the holders' revenue for the last 30 days. In the last 30 days alone, $63 million were handed back to the token holders. So that's absolutely insane. And of course, it scores very highly in my system. And then if we just continue with this, SPX, all these meme coins are pretty much out of the case. Base is going to be brilliant. I think the huge utility here with the Zora token, and it does have potential, but it does also have utility. All gaming is speculative, I would say. Hyperliquid is king, okay? Speculative. Ondo, unfortunately, is unproven. Ondo does nothing for its token holders. Render, I'll probably say Render does have potential in terms of the overall, what they can do with the token. And it does have huge utility, of course. We know that. Aerodrome Finance is very aggressive on its buyback and burns, so it goes up there. And of course, you've got stuff like ICP, huge utility. Algorand, a utility token that has a potential to do some massive partnerships here. So I'll just throw it there. But there you have it, guys. Look, I could go on forever, but what I would say is you are seeing Kita as well. I have Kita there. I have Kita on that side. So anyway, look, at the end of the day, the stuff that I'm tracking right now is largely dependent on what metrics you're looking at. However, I would rank the buybacks and burn as kind of like the best. I would then go with utility. I'll speculate on the potential. Again, this is, for example, AVAX has a massive utility. Let's get rid of AVAX there. Morpho also, but I'd put that as kind of like the way I'm thinking now. So if you ask me right now, DXB, how does this change my investment strategy? Well, in this particular video, I've just told you what to look for, okay? In terms of potential, in terms of what's unproven, in terms of what's speculative, and in terms of what is really driving token utility at the very top, which means that the token itself is deflationary. That doesn't mean you go and put all your money into Injective or Syrup or Hyperliquid or Aerodrome. It doesn't mean that. Crypto doesn't work like that. However, if you understand the seasonalities, the narratives, that's what we track at the DXB Discord right now, which is making a massive kind of progress in my life on how I handle the community, just the community, you know, the way to help the community 24/7. We're working in there. So yeah, I mean, this is how I would look about my portfolio right now. I would obviously use the DXB tracker here that allows me to get a particular score amongst many things that I track. And after all, you have to always understand crypto is very risky. So move in and out. Don't fall for these hyperbolic revenue generation and you know, TVL. Understand where the TVL is. Just like I told you, what's important in the TVL. App revenue is very important. Token incentives, very important. DEX volume, very important. I hope you liked the video. Apologies, it's way too long, but I know you guys have been waiting for this one for a long time, and I've ranked some coins there for you. If you want to know personally what I hold, just watch my videos and come into the Discord and you'd understand. Okay? Take care, guys. Smash a like.